Welcome, everyone. We're here to talk about something that's going to have a direct impact on your work from the bench. Senate Bill 43. This is a really significant change to California law, so let's dive right in. And let's be clear, this isn't just a minor tweak. We're talking about the biggest shakeup to California's conservatorship law in decades. It's a fundamental shift in the entire legal landscape, so getting a handle on the nuances is, well, it's absolutely critical for all of us. All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the fundamental legal shift. Then we'll get into the real heart of it, redefining gravely disabled. After that, we'll talk about the new realities you'll see in court. I'll offer a framework to help guide your questions, and we'll wrap up by looking at Merced County's specific path forward. All right, let's kick things off with the big picture. At its core, SB 43 is a major amendment to the Lanterman-Petrus Sort Act, the LPS Act, which, as you all know, has been the bedrock of these proceedings for a very, very long time. So what does it actually do? Well, the most crucial thing to understand is that its core function is to broaden the legal threshold for two big things: involuntary holds, 5150s, and for establishing LPS conservatorships. It essentially expands the circumstances where state intervention is possible. And that brings us right to the heart of the matter, the core change in this law, redefining gravely disabled. Honestly, if you understand this one change, you've grasped the most critical piece, because pretty much everything else flows from it. Okay, take a look at this, because the contrast is stark. Before SB 43, the standard was pretty straightforward, right? It was about the absolute basics: food, clothing, or shelter. Super concrete. But now, look at the new standard. We've moved from those basics to these much broader and, frankly, much more complex ideas of personal health and personal safety. So you can really boil this shift down to two key additions. First, this new focus on personal health and safety. And second, the law now explicitly for the first time includes serious substance use disorders, right alongside serious mental illness as a qualifying condition. That's a huge change. All right, so the definition has changed. That's the what. But what about the so what? What does this actually look like when you're on the bench in the middle of a hearing? How does this all play out in the real world? Well, for one thing, the type of evidence you're going to be hearing is so much broader now. The door's basically wide open for testimony about a person's functional capacity. You're going to be weighing evidence about things like a repeated failure to seek medical care or an impaired ability to even recognize serious health risks. You'll see patterns of functional decline presented, even if the person technically has shelter. It's a whole new ballgame. And with new evidence comes new arguments, right? You can expect to see petitioners really focusing on things like medical neglect and risky behaviors. On the flip side, defense counsel will almost certainly challenge the vagueness of a term like personal safety. They'll argue their client is just making choices, even if they're poor ones, and they'll be pushing hard, really hard, for less restrictive alternatives. Okay, so things are getting more complex, there's no doubt about it. So we thought it would be helpful to offer a kind of practical toolkit, a framework of key questions you can use from the bench to help guide your inquiry and your fact-finding. So let's walk through this three-step inquiry. Step 1 is all about establishing the nexus. You have to ask, is this behavior a direct result of the diagnosed disorder? That link is the absolute bedrock. Step 2, assess their cognitive capacity. Does their mental state actually impair their ability to see the risks involved, to understand the consequences? And then step 3, you review the pattern. Is there a history here, a pattern of avoidable crises, or a significant decline that really tells the story of their capacity over time? Okay, with all of that legal framework in mind, let's bring this home. What does this all mean for us, right here in Merced County? Let's talk about our local implementation and the resources available. This next bit is incredibly important for everyone here. The implementation date for SB 43 in Merced County is January 1st, 2026. Now, that gives us some time to prepare, which is good, but it's absolutely vital that you have this date circled on your calendar right now. So when you boil it all down, the task before the court is pretty clear, isn't it? It's about applying this expanded standard with careful restraint. It's about grounding every single decision in a rigorous, fact-based inquiry. That's the job. And all of this really leaves us with the central and, let's be honest, challenging question. How do we, as the bench, balance this new power of intervention with our absolute, unwavering duty to protect individual liberty? Finding that balance, that's going to be our most important job as we move forward with this new law. And to help you and your teams navigate all of this, we've put together some key local resources. You'll see the Merced County BHRS webpage for SB 43, the 24/7 crisis line, the care court team, and the contact for the public guardian and public conservator's office. We hope you find these helpful. Thank you for your time.